Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The Age of Cards. The 100 Ghosts Night Walk is drawn at the start. Chapter 36. Is this a win? Is it too easy? Great. The opponent is a second grader. Off the field. The students watching the battle were full of surprises. Especially senior students. When they saw that the tall and thin young man's opponent was a freshman, they all thought that the tall and thin young man would win. After all, the strength of the freshman at this stage is not strong. Even the one-star advanced task has not been completed, and he is still a trainee card student. On the other hand, second-year students have generally been promoted to one-star card disciples, and their deck unlocking degree is relatively high, and their strength is far superior to that of freshmen. Unexpectedly, they slapped them in the face. That first-year freshman not only won, also won very easily. Totally crushing. Is this year's first-year freshman so fierce? No, I see that in other competitions, none of the freshmen won. Then who is this fierce man? Yeezy, haven't you heard of it? This year's freshman chief. Oh, that Yeezy, no wonder. Some senior students have heard Yeezy's name, and they are suddenly stunned. It turned out to be the hero of the bug wave incident. No wonder it's so powerful. Hearing everyone's admiration and praise for Yeezy, Xiao Huaning smiled until his eyes narrowed. Although He Qingqing next to him had heard of Yeezy's strength, this was the first time he had seen it, and he couldn't hide his surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect Azer to have such a strong Kaling. He Qingqing murmured in a low voice. Xiao Huaning glanced at her sideways and pouted. Make a fuss. Aze has more than this strength, he will be surprised to look like this, and then he must not break his chin. Competition is over. Yeezy came out of the practice space and returned to his seat. The match between Xiao Huaning and He Qingqing was just behind Yeezy. The two quickly left their seats and headed to the waiting area. Noon. Qualifiers are over. He Qingqing is a leader in the third grade, and naturally passed the preliminaries smoothly. Xiao Huaning was successfully promoted to a one-star card student 2 days ago, and it was still a nightmare level of difficulty to clear the customs. In terms of strength, he was not inferior to most second-year students. Although there were some twists and turns in the process, she finally passed the pre-selection smoothly. The official game will be held in the afternoon. After lunch, the three Yeezy returned to the square. I have inquired about it. The only first-year students who entered the preliminaries are A's, Yu and Wei Ning. There are more than 30 second-year students. The rest are all third and fourth-year students. He Qingqing said. It seems that the strength gap between each grade is quite large. Almost so. The three were talking when they suddenly noticed a group of people walking towards them not far away. 5 or 6 boys, headed by a tall and strong young man. Qingqing, so you are here, no wonder I can't find you everywhere I look. The tall young man had a warm smile on his face, and he seemed to be talking to him. He Qingqing didn't buy it at all, and said coldly. Gal Foxen, I don't want to repeat it a second time. My relationship with you is not good enough to call you by your first name. Please call me He Qingqing. Quote. I see. Gal Foxen's smile stopped for a while, and he quickly passed the topic and looked at Yeezy and Xiao Huaning. Who are these two? Yeezy, Xiao Huaning. Yeezy and Xiao Huaning introduced themselves. Gal Foxen looked at the two of them up and down, and asked uncertainly. The two are third graders. No, we are in the first grade. Yeezy said calmly. Hearing this, a flash of disapproval flashed on the faces of Gal Foxen and a few companions behind him. Keenly noticed this, He Qingqing snorted coldly, reached out to grab Yeezy's arm, and pulled him away. Come on, ignore these boring guys. Xiao Huaning stared blankly at the arms of the two of them, and immediately chased after him angrily after reacting, and also stretched out his hand to hold Yeezy's other arm. I said, what are you two doing? Yeezy glanced at the two of them left and right, with a helpless expression on his face. It was her first. Xiao Huaning's face was slightly red and a little shy. She has never made such a bold move in public. I'm taking an oath of sovereignty. He Qingqing replied with a smile. Quote. All right. Feeling the soft touch from both arms, Yeezy didn't say anything more. It was him who enjoyed it anyway. Looking at the backs of Yeezy and the three of them leaving intimately, Gal Foxen and the others were speechless for a while. The boys standing behind looked at Gal Foxen, whose face was ashen, and looked at each other in dismay. Almost no one in the third grade didn't know that Gal Foxen was pursuing He Qingqing. It just hasn't been successful. He Qingqing had never heard of which opposite sex He Qingqing was more intimate with. I didn't expect to see her take the initiative to hold a boy's arm today. Still a freshman. Simply eye-popping. For a long time. Only then came Gal Foxen's extremely gloomy voice. Who of you know who that Yeezy is? Several third graders shook their heads. How could they be concerned about a freshman? In the end, the only second-year student among the five stood up. He's this year's freshman chief. One of two first-year students entering the official competition. Chapter 37. Chief Freshman. The student who is said to have killed thousands of death knell beetles in the swarm. A third grader exclaimed. He had heard of this. Thousands of things, don't you know about rumors? The more they spread, the more exaggerated they are. Most of them killed dozens of death knell beetles, and then they became tens of thousands. Another person retorted with disdain. Makes sense. The rest of the people nodded in agreement. It's an exaggeration to think that a freshman kills thousands of death knell beetles. Not to mention them, even Gal Foxen couldn't do such a thing. 9 times out of 10, it is based on falsehoods. Gal Foxen snorted coldly, his face gloomy. Deep down in his heart, he had long regarded He Qingqing as his ban. Now that she is so close to another boy, it is impossible not to be annoyed. Especially when the boy was still in the lower grades. Just a first-year freshman, what place can compare to me? Don't let me meet you in the game, or you must look good. Gal Foxen said in a low voice with a gloomy face. Isn't there a duel list for the official game? Let's check it out and we'll know who Yeezy's opponent is. Someone suggested. The others immediately took out their phones. After a while, everyone's eyes turned to Tian Yong, the only second-year student present. Gal Foxen's eyes lit up. On the list, it was written that Yeezy's opponent in the next match was Tian Yong. Tian Yong, leave it to you, teach Yeezy a good lesson, and don't let me down. Yes, big brother Gao, don't worry. Tian Yong smiled confidently. In terms of strength, he can steadily rank in the top 3 throughout the second grade, and of course he will not be afraid of a freshman chief. ... Speaking of which, who is that Gal Foxen? Back at the seat and sat down, Yeezy asked suddenly. A hypocrite guy. He Qingqing's face showed undisguised contempt. Don't look at Gal Foxen's smile when he speaks. This person is actually very hypocritical, and he looks down on people other than himself in his heart. He is also Gao Wendong's brother. Xiao Huaning added. Gao Wendong's brother. Yeezy was slightly surprised. That's understandable. It's not that the family doesn't enter the house. During the chat, time passed quickly. The official game in the afternoon was held on time. Xiao Huaning was the first to play. However, her luck was not very good, and the opponent she met was a third-year student of a 2-star card apprentice. The result is not unexpected, unfortunately lost. It doesn't matter, I will participate again next year. Yeezy comforted Xiao Huaning. Fortunately, Xiao Huaning originally participated with the mentality of trying, and was not very depressed after being eliminated. Before long, it was Yeezy's turn. Enter the practice space. He was surprised to find that the opponent looked somewhat familiar. After a little memory, I remembered that the other party was Gal Foxen's follower. Meet again, buddy. Tian Yong looked at Yeezy without smiling. There was a look of awe-inspiring look in his eyes. Your classmates have been eliminated. Now you are the only first-year student who is still competing. Of course, not after this game. Hearing the ridicule and provocation in Tian Yong's words, Yeezy raised his brows. He is not slow. As early as when he met Gal Foxen, he was aware of Gal Foxen's attitude towards He Qingqing and his jealous eyes when he finally left. Now it seems that Gal Foxen is obviously planning to trouble him. And Tian Yong is the younger brother who is charging. Really? I don't think so. I'd better send you away. Tian Yong was stunned for a while, then laughed. As expected of the freshman chief, he is confident and admirable. Unfortunately, no amount of self-confidence can make up for the gap in strength. Tian Yong restrained his smile, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Let's show you now, the power gap between first-year students and second-year students. At the moment when the last word fell, the countdown above the ring just returned to 0. Dazzling light emerged. 5 huge figures appeared in front of Tian Yong in an instant. 4 of them were 3-meter-tall cyclops with only a rag around their waists, holding giant mace. Cyclops, level 28. The last giant was even bigger, measuring more than 5 meters, with 2 hideous heads. Two-headed giant, level 35. After summoning Kaling, Tian Yong continued to use another astrology card. A khaki halo fell when the hood fell. A thick layer of stone armor was formed on the surface of the 5 giant card spirit bodies, and the defense power was greatly increased. In the blink of an eye, Tian Yong quickly completed the battle preparations. Looking at the 5 powerful Kalings in front of him, he couldn't help showing a smug look on his face. On the other hand, Yeezy stopped moving before and after summoning Tamamo. He just quietly watched Tian Yong's movements. It's like watching a clown juggle. Chapter 38. When his eyes fell on Yu Zhao front, Tian Yong was slightly absent-minded for a moment, but he recovered quickly and frowned. You only summon a Kaling. Enough. Yeezy said calmly. Arrogant guy. Tian Cheng laughed, and without further delay, immediately ordered the Kalings to kill Yeezy. I don't like this bulky hunk. Tamamo before complained, looking uninterested. Yeezy shrugged. Then get them done quickly so we can start the next one. Makes sense. Yu Zhao giggled before, and raised her hands lightly. In an instant, the 2 cyclops screamed in pain, and cyan flames ignited out of thin air. On the other side, countless sharp wind blades emerged out of thin air, submerging the 2 cyclops, like high-speed rotating turbine blades, forcibly smashing the 2 into a bloody fog. Boom! The stout thunderbolt fell on its head, hitting the only remaining 2-headed giant. This mighty-looking giant monster died on the spot without even a single blow, turning into pitch-black coke and crashing to the ground. The lively arena suddenly returned to quiet. Tian Yong stared blankly at the corpses of the giants, still unable to recover from the sudden turn of events. In the blink of an eye, the 5 powerful Kalings they were proud of were wiped out. He never dreamed it would end like this. Yu. After a long while, Tian Yong looked up at Yeezy and pointed at him with a face full of horror. Yeezy had a half-smile on his face. Is this the power gap you're talking about between the first and second grades? I've seen it. As soon as these words came out, Tian Yong's face suddenly turned into a pig's liver color, and his face was full of embarrassment. Without waiting for the referee to declare the victory or defeat, he directly withdrew from the practice space. It's really boring. Tamamo Mei used his index finger to wrap his hair around the dangling strands of hair, and said indifferently. Don't worry, after the semi-finals, you should be able to meet an opponent who makes you interested. While speaking, Yeezy also withdrew. Xiao Huaning and He Qingqing were waiting for him outside, and when they met, they immediately showed a happy smile from their hearts. It's amazing, even Tian Yong is not your opponent. Xiao Huaning's face flushed with excitement. He Qingqing stared at Yeezy with bright eyes. Although it wasn't because of talent and strength that she fell in love with Yeezy, what girl doesn't want her sweetheart to be as good as possible? People nearby who watched the fight were equally amazed. Even Tian Yong was defeated. Yeah, Tian Yong is one of the top 3 students in the second year. I didn't expect him to lose to Yeezy. The first-year students entered the second round of competition. This is the first time for previous college competitions. It seems so. Anyway, Yeezy is a well-deserved dark horse in this academy competition. The buzz of discussion spread. Gal Foxen and others sitting in the corner, listening to the words coming from their ears, their faces were so gloomy that they were about to drip. The battle that was originally thought to be won was lost in the end. Not only did not achieve the purpose of teaching Yeezy, but instead made him stand out. How can people not be annoyed? Big brother Gao. Tian Yong walked over with a face full of shame. Seeing that Gal Foxen ignored him with a cold face, he had to turn around and leave in dejection. What a waste. Gal Foxen stared at his back coldly. Fortunately, I thought this guy was a seed worth cultivating, but I didn't expect it to be useless at all. Brother Gao, it's not worth being angry with this kind of waste. Yeah, there are as many people as you want. It doesn't matter if Yeezy wins this game now, he won't get very far in the college competition anyway. Gal Foxen remained calm and did not speak. Of course he knew that Yeezy couldn't go very far. A freshman still expecting to make it to the semifinals. It is estimated that the next game will have to be eliminated. The only thing that made him uncomfortable was that he couldn't teach Yeezy a lesson. But Gal Foxen won't have to worry soon. With the end of the first round of the competition, the list of 512 people who qualified for the duel was released immediately. And his and Yeezy's names appeared in the same scene. A's, your next opponent is Gal Foxen. Yeezy raised his head and raised his eyebrows. That's not right. Gal Foxen can take the shot himself, so as not to have to push his younger brother to charge. But, he Ching pursed his lips and looked a little worried. Gal Foxen is arrogant, but he does have that confidence. No one can beat him in the whole third grade except me. So, senior, isn't she the third-year chief? She's amazing. Being praised by Yeezy, the corners of He Ching's lips subconsciously raised an arc, but she immediately reacted, patted Yeezy's arm lightly, and said angrily, I'm talking to you about business. Yeezy smiled slightly, and his eyes flashed. Don't worry, senior, Gal Foxen is not qualified to be my hindrance. Chapter 39. Yeezy's words fell in the ears of others who didn't know it, and it undoubtedly seemed very arrogant. However, when He Ching heard it, he could feel a calm self-confidence. Seeing this, she had no choice but to say no more. She just made up her mind secretly that if Gal Foxen dared to do anything to Yeezy, she would never make that bastard feel better. A's, be careful, safety first, competition second. Xiao Huaning looked at Yeezy worriedly. Yeezy didn't say anything, just nodded with a chuckle. The second round begins soon. Yeezy entered the practice space neatly. Very well, I thought you would abstain. Seeing Yeezy appearing, Gal Foxen's face showed a hint of malice. At this moment, the two sides have almost torn their faces, and he no longer needs to maintain the previous hypocritical smile. Let's not say anything else, at least your courage is worthy of praise. My goal as the chief of the academy, of course I can't give up here. Yeezy said with a smile. Gal Foxen only thought he was joking, and a coldness flashed in his eyes. I hope you can still laugh after being eliminated. A countdown number began to appear over the arena. Off the field, the students watching the game began to get excited, showing an expression of anticipation and excitement. As the number of participants decreased, the number of people watching the same game gradually increased. Yeezy was the first freshman to enter the second round of the college competition, and his opponent was Gal Foxen, who was second in the third year. The match between the two is undoubtedly very interesting, attracting most of the audience, and it seems to be the most popular match at this time. It's about to start. Don't know who will win. I hope Yeezy can win. If he can make it all the way to the finals, it will be exciting. Don't talk nonsense. The further back the contestants are, the stronger they are. Yeezy is already very good at getting here. How could he possibly make it to the finals? Yeah, and I feel that his game is very hanging. After all, his opponent is Gal Foxen. I heard that Gal Foxen is already preparing to apply for the Samsung Advanced mission. So fast. Tisk tisk. Then Yeezy is going to be bad. Xiao Huaning and He Ching frowned. Although Yeezy has performed very well all the way to the promotion, but as a freshman, not many people believe that he can beat Gal Foxen, who is equally talented and has 2 more years of training. The speculation on the winner on the field gradually turned to Gal Foxen. The two people in the rehearsal space did not know what was going on outside. After the countdown reaches 0, Gal Foxen played the card Ling for the first time. Although he was confident that he could win over Yeezy, he did not take it lightly and went all out in the battle. Accompanied by a high and violent roar, the pungent and rich sulfur smell suddenly diffused. 4 ferocious and terrifying figures with different shapes but without exception with double horns on their heads emerged. Soul Reaver, level 42. Cow Demon, level 44. Iron Cavalry, level 45. Fighting Demon, level 48. 4 tall demons stood tall in the ring. Demon kind of Kaling. Yeezy clicked his tongue. At least a premium deck. People like Gal Foxen actually represent the strength of the elite students of Tianjin College to a large extent. These people themselves have elite level or even rare level decks, and they chose high difficulty tasks when they advanced. With the blessing of the 2 phases, and then increasing the deck unlocking degree, their combat effectiveness at the 2nd star level is enough to compare to the ordinary 4 or 5 star card students. These guys are so stinky, master. Tamamo held her nose in front of her and cast a disgusting look at the demons. It seems that they were stimulated by the sight in front of Tamamo, and the four demons roared in the sky and killed them angrily. The slender, bat-headed Soul Reaver is the fastest. In the blink of an eye, it swept to the front, and the sharp claws that flashed with cold and dim light slammed into the face in front of Tamamo. The other three demons were surrounded and killed from different directions under the control of Gal Foxen. At the same time, Gal Foxen sneered and drew an astrology card with his backhand. Astral card, red melt whip. A whip shadow burning with raging flames emerged out of nowhere, and whistled towards Yeezy. Snapped. Lava splashes. Whip shadow hit Yeezy hard, but was blocked by Star Shield. Gal Foxen frowned and continued to control the whip of red melting. Snapped. 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 After more than 10 strokes in a row, the whip of red melting slowly dissipated. And Yeezy was still standing there, unscathed. This scene made Gal Foxen almost stare out his eyes. How is this possible? After more than 10 times of the red melting whip, nothing happened. How much star power does this guy have? The students who watched the off-field battle were also secretly shocked. Many one-star cards questioned themselves, and if they faced the whip of red melting, they would be drained of their star power after 6 or 7 blows. They decided that they could not be as calm as Yeezy. How much star power does it take to do this? Chapter 40. On the other hand, Tamamo Mei's fight with the four demons also became intensified. The fox demon girl's 9 tails have already been revealed, swaying slowly behind her, and pulling out suddenly from time to time, stirring up surging flames or gusts of wind. This is Tamamo Front's full-strength performance. After all, she is only level 50. Facing the siege of 4 level 40-plus enemies, it is already the result of her best efforts to maintain her strength. You still don't summon other Kalings. Just watch your own Kalings get killed. Gal Foxen looked gloomy, with a hint of anger. He knew that Yeezy's deck was not king, but heroic. In other words, more than one Kaling. However, after the battle had started for so long, Yeezy always used only one card to fight, and after that, there was no movement. This is undoubtedly a great contempt for him. Simply annoying. You're right. Contrary to Gal Foxen's expectations, Yeezy agreed with his words and drew a card at random. Astral card, Ghost Wrong. Followed by 3 card Spirit cards. Open black lens bracket wine swallow boy close black lens bracket ideographic comma open black lens bracket gu huo bird close black lens bracket ideographic comma open black lens bracket network bride close black lens bracket. The 3 card Spirit cards fell into the box condensed by Ghost Wrong, one by one, and disappeared. The next moment, in front of Tamamo during the battle, a dazzling red light suddenly flashed, and a circle of invisible air waves spread out in all directions with her at the center. The whole person's momentum rose steadily, and instantly soared to an extremely terrifying level. Tamamo Mei, level 65. According to the level of the fusion card, the Ghost Wrong astrology card has a different boost to the supporter. The Shuden Duji, Gusuo Bird, and Luo Bride are the 3 strongest Kalings in the 100 Ghost Night Walk deck except Tamamozan. So after the fusion of these 3 Kalings, Tamamozan not only broke through level 60, but also skyrocketed to level 65 in an instant. The violent air wave pushed the 4 demons who were caught off guard to stagger. Before they could stabilize their bodies, the 9 tails on Yuzhao's front and back had been pulled out in unison, swaying a large scorching flame, which directly burned the nearest giant bull demon into ashes in an instant. The other 3 demons turned pale when they saw this. Hastily stepped back and pulled away. His eyes flickered suddenly. Tamamo before actually killed instantly. The fair and slender palm just waved lightly, and a stout thunderbolt fell into the sky, splitting the Soul Reaver into coke on the spot. Call. A violent hurricane emerged at the same time, whistling and smashing the remaining Iron Riders and Berserker demons into a bloody fog. Less than one breath. The 4 demons who were still vaguely gaining the upper hand were wiped out. The sudden change in the battle situation stunned everyone. Countless astonished and inexplicable eyes fell on Yuzhao front. I can't figure out why her strength has suddenly increased so much. How is this possible? The most shocked was Gal Foxen. He stared at the demon fox girl with a stunned expression on his face. Damn. After being stunned for a few seconds, Gal Foxen woke up suddenly and quickly summoned a new Kaling until Yuzhao cast a playful look. However, the previous 4 demons were already the strongest Kaling in his hands. Most of the newly summoned Kalings are only level 30, and they are not the opponents in front of Tamamo. After 10 seconds, all Kalings were defeated and killed by Tamamo front. Anything else? You can summon it again. Yu Zhaoqin squinted at Gal Foxen, her beautiful eyes full of dangerous eyes. This guy dared to mock the master, but he couldn't let him go so easily. Gal Foxen stood there with a pale face. He still has some spirit cards in his hand, but the key is that the star power is not enough. During the competition, it is forbidden to take the star power restoration potion. But it would be unwilling for him to admit defeat like this. So humiliating. Gal Foxen felt extra embarrassed and humiliated when he thought of the cruel words he said before. Since I don't make a move, then I'm welcome. A sweet voice sounded. Before Gal Foxen could react, he felt an extremely scorching heat wave coming towards him, hitting him like a rushing torrent. Bang! The star power in the body was instantly evacuated, and the star shield immediately shattered. What? The remaining heat wave hit Gal Foxen, instantly making his skin red, blistered, and festering. In the blink of an eye, he became unrecognizable and burned. Under the severe pain, he couldn't help but let out a shrill scream like a ghost howl. The light shines. A teacher suddenly appeared in the training space, and without saying a word, he threw a healing astrology card and healed most of Gal Foxen's burns in an instant. However, Gal Foxen had already fainted in pain, lying on the ground motionless. Seeing this, the teacher looked at Yu Zhao helplessly. This Kaling's hands are quite ruthless. However, injuries were inevitable in the game, and Gal Foxen didn't admit defeat, so he couldn't blame Yeezy and Yu Zhao before. Shaking his head, he took Gal Foxen out of the practice space. Subsequently, a line of golden characters suddenly popped up above the arena. Winner, Yeezy. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.